Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. There are several ways to propagate begonias. Today, we're going to look at some popular ways to do it. That's just ahead on the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Jill Mabry. Jill is the curator of tropical plants here at the Memphis Botanic Garden. Thanks for joining us, Jill.
Thank you for having me.
This is going to be fun, right? So we're talking
That's right.
about propagating plants.
Yes.
Right.
Well, we've got a couple different kinds to show you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
All right.
I love begonias. There's so many different kinds. They're tall ones, short ones. They come in all different varieties, different colors. I'm fascinated by how many there are.
Yeah.
And I love that so many of them are so easy to grow and so easy to propagate.
I like easy.
Yes,
I think
we
that
all
works.
like easy,
Yeah,
right?
I like easy.
So I wanted to show you a few really easy ways to demonstrate how to propagate some of our favorite begonias here. And you can do it a couple of different ways, and part of that depends on how the begonia grows. For instance, this is a cane begonia. This variety is called Down Home, but it is but it is one of the varieties that is called a cane begonia because it grows on these tall stems that look like pieces of bamboo cane. They have these little nodes. They have little green spots in between, and these tend to grow up and out. Super easy to propagate.
Let's see how easy.
Let's see how easy it is.
Let's see how easy it is. All right.
For instance, and this is a good way to prune your own plant to make it thicker or to start a new plant. So I can show you both of those.
Okay. Got it.
For instance, this plant is getting a little tall. Maybe you don't have a lot of foliage at the base, so you want to make it a little thicker. So you would just cut off down here, have your trusty pruners,
Okay.
and cutting it off right there. One option for you, stick it right back in that soil.
Okay. Convenient. Okay.
Very convenient. You could leave it just like that.
All right.
You can also cut it again.
Wow, you cut it again?
Yes. So what you're looking at is these nodes. Each of these little bumps on the stem is called a node. And you want a node below the ground. That's what's going to form the roots. And a node above the ground is generally what's going to send up the new leaves.
Good.
So cut that there. That's going to send a new sprout. Just like there's a new little sprout coming out here already. So we're going to have a new sprout there. And then you could also pop this little guy back in here.
Yeah, just put it in there. How about that?
And if the soil's a little dry, like this one is, make a little hole with your finger or with your pruners. Just gently press it in.
Okay.
And that's going to be ready to sprout and grow. You can do that with a couple more of these, and you're going to have a much more dense, contained plant ready to fluff on back out again.
Okay. How long would it take before it sprouts, though?
Oh, it's going to start sprouting within a week or so. It'll start developing roots.
That's soon. Okay.
Doesn't take long.
Okay.
You can also, rather than just putting them back in the same soil, this is how you can start a brand new plant for yourself, for a friend, maybe for your Christmas gifts. Just stick that right in soil, and it's going to root and develop. A lot of plants you need rooting hormone.
I was just about to ask you about that. Okay.
Begonias are so easy, you really don't even have to use the rooting hormone. This has a little blemish on the leaf. I'm just going to cut that off. And then to demonstrate, I'm going to take off a couple more stems.
All right.
Just pull off the old leaves a little bit here. And because these are such long stems, I'm going to cut this one in two.
So I just noticed, so you're cutting at an angle, does it?
Yeah, a little bit of an angle.
Does it have to be an angle? Okay.
I'm going to stick that in. This one I'm going to take off a couple of these leaves, because when you're doing this, you don't have roots yet, and so the plant is going to be pulling all of its water up through this cut piece. So you don't want to have too many leaves that it's trying to support. So I'm going to stick that in. This was the other one that I cut. So I'm going to do the same thing to that. cut it in half, stick that in there, take off a couple more leaves.
Wow, so just that easy, right?
It's just that easy.
So let me ask you about watering, though. I mean, is that
Yeah.
going to be misted? Are they going to be watered? Or
So
How
in
do we do
this case, this was a relatively dry potting soil that I used. So I would go ahead and water this in well
Okay.
until you see water running out the bottom.
okay,
And then I would just leave it alone. You can leave it
leave
in a window. If you want to add a bit of extra humidity, you can take a plastic bag,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
clear
yeah.
plastic bag, kind of tint it over it, will hold in the humidity. But these plants are so easy, you really don't have to do much other than just treat it as your brand new plant and just water it every week, every couple weeks. And that's going to be a brand new plant for you.
wow, that was easy.
Isn't that easy?
You're right.
So
That was
easy. And then if you wanted to kind of finish up this one as well, we left that one a little
Okay.
loppy-jawed. So this was what I would do with my plant at home if I were refreshing this. Take off those pieces
Just put it back in.
and then just stick them back in. And that's going to make for a much wider plant because as it grows, these new pieces are going to grow.
Huh.
It's also going to send up new shoots
Got
from
it.
all of these cut pieces. So you're going to end up with a much wider, thicker plant.
Mm-hmm.
So you would go ahead and water that one well also. You've already got the root ball from the existing plant,
Got it.
but then all your new plant shoots. So just water that well and then water it every couple weeks. It's an ugly leaf. I want to take that one off. I'll take that one off too.
You got to make sure it looks good.
Yeah, do a little grooming. And now you're
Look at
left
that.
with two.
Look at that. All right, I'm impressed. That was good. You said
Good,
it was easy. It was easy.
Easy enough,
It was
right?
easy. Yeah. I think I can handle that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. All right, clean off my trash a little bit here.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, this is also a cane begonia. This is a different kind. This is Sophie Cecile. This one just isn't quite as tall yet, but you would do that the same way. You would cut it at the cane.
Okay.
In this case, I would probably pull off
Yeah, that's a lot of leaves on there. Huh?
some of these little pieces that are coming out.
It's beautiful color on the underside of those leaves.
Isn't that pretty?
Wow. Yeah.
And then this seems painful, but because we don't have roots on this yet,
Okay.
I'm going to take off some of these great big leaves as
okay.
well. And even this great big one. Again,
Oh boy.
brace
What
yourself.
is she gonna do, y'all?
I'm just going to cut that in half.
Somebody at home just.
I know. Somebody screamed, I'm
Oh my
sure.
goodness.
But that way you've got a little cutting and you don't have too much leaf surface that's gonna dry it out.
Got it.
So stick it in the soil and that's gonna be ready to grow, ready
Wow,
to
so
develop
again,
roots.
no rooting hormone, anything.
No,
Isn't that
no,
something?
these begonias are so easy that I very rarely use rooting hormone on them.
Okay.
So then a different type of begonia, so those were both stem cuttings
Okay,
from
stem
cane
cuttings.
type begonias.
Got it.
So another type
got
of
it.
begonia, it's this little eyelash begonia. And I believe this is a cross between a Rex and a Rhizomatous begonia. Those are both pretty similar. Rex begonias just grow directly from the ground. Their stems come out straight from the ground without a stem.
Okay.
Rhizomatous begonias do get a little bit of a rhizome going. They get a bit of a stem creeping across the ground.
Got it.
But you can propagate both of those just from leaf cuttings. And to demonstrate that, a leaf cutting,
So some leaf cutting. Okay.
I'm going to cut, what's that, about an inch below the leaf. I'm going to use this pot as our example again.
Okay.
And you're just going to push this into the soil to right where that leaf touches the soil. And it's going to develop roots and develop a whole new leaf system coming out right there where it's touching the soil. So
That's good.
if you wanted to make a whole pot of these, I'm just going to demonstrate in this same pot.
So it doesn't matter if the leaf touches the soil. Because you would
I-
say, yeah, you don't want the leaves to touch the soil.
Oh, in this case, you do
So
want
you do.
the leaves to
good.
touch the soil.
Okay.
Some people will put it in just so that little bit of stem is covered, but I like to push it all the way up
Okay.
until the leaf. I find a little better success that way.
Yeah, you got it all the way in. Okay.
And once you get a a plant like this growing, they grow a lot. They grow lots of leaves. If I don't want to affect the overall look of the parent plant, I might just take off the lower leaves. You know, plants are going to shed their lower leaves anyway, so you know it's only a matter of time before these are going to turn brown and come off.
Wow, about that.
And you can use those, cut them down each a little bit.
Wow, okay.
And
You've done this a
then-
couple of times?
I've done this
Yeah?
a few times, yeah, I sure have.
I can tell.
And it's just as simple as that. Just stick them right
Stick
into
'em
that
in.
soil. You can even kind of layer over the leaves a little bit. They don't mind. Even this little baby guy, it's going to be okay. So you stick that in, kind of end up with a pretty little layered look there. Then you're going to water that in, just like any of your other plants. Just water it in well until the soil is running out the bottom,
Okay.
and then leave it. Maybe water it once a week after that.
So, wow.
This might appreciate more of a humidity dome
Oh,
rather
okay.
rather
Gotcha.
than just the stem cane cuttings, but they should grow well
Okay.
without. Especially this eyelash begonia is so easy. It's so easy to grow.
So easy
So-
to grow, she says.
So this was so easy. So this is how to do it. So this is a before, and like you said, I have done this a few times. So I have results. These are some that I did that to
Beautiful. All right.
that I started about maybe 4 months ago.
Okay.
So each of these was just a little leaf stuck into this soil. And by now it's a whole new plant
Yeah.
and they're even blooming.
Yes, beautiful.
And so these are ready at this point to be potted up into a bigger pot.
Okay.
And it'll grow. Each of these, the leaves are going to stay small. These were grown in little cell packs. So the leaves are going to stay small. But once I move it up into a bigger pot, the leaves will be ready to get larger and just fill out and become its own big, beautiful blooming plant.
Got it. That is nice.
And it really is that easy.
It is that easy.
It's that easy. So this
All right.
this is a beefsteak begonia,
Okay.
popular one, beautiful red
Yeah.
underneath,
Yeah.
nice green, shiny green, olive green on top. And this is another super easy one to grow from leaf cuttings. So again, also this does develop a little bit of a rhizome. When you can get into there and see it, it gets thick,
I see it.
thick
Yeah,
with
I see it.
rhizomes. You can get into the rhizome to cut it up, but they are so easy from leaf cuttings.
Interesting.
And when I do the leaf cuttings, I do like, you could take any of them. You could take any of the leaves. I do like to work from the bottom up because these are the leaves that are naturally just going to be shed first as they age. It also leaves you with a still real pretty looking plant. So if you went in here and start whacking away at those, it's just
Yeah.
going to destroy
Got
the look of the plant until it grows back. So with my little pruners, I'm just cutting off some of these lowest leaves.
Yeah, again,
Another
just the
little one here.
underside of these leaves.
Isn't that
Gorgeous.
beautiful? The
Ah,
beautiful red,
That's nice.
orangey shades makes a real nice contrast. You see these stems are kind of long.
Yeah.
I prefer to just cut them down a little bit, about that size. And then you don't have to do this, but I often do because this is a pretty large leaf. I also will just cut down that leaf
You're cutting
to
the leaf.
size.
Okay.
Just because that way there isn't so much that this brand new little plant has to support.
Okay.
And then you'll stick it into the soil. I like to press it down until the leaf top is against the soil. Then you can break it with your fingers and cut it with your tool, with your plant tool,
Or just tear it.
or just tear it.
Yeah.
And then again, just push it down into the soil so that it's in touch with the surface. And you can kind of experiment with this, maybe taking off some of these bigger leaves, maybe leaving them, seeing how that works for you. Some people will even plant this on one pot and will put slits in these major leaves, and new leaves can develop that way
Yeah,
as
how
well.
about that? Okay.
I have more success with rooting it from that center petiole.
Okay.
So that's usually what I go with.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, don't be shy. Just cut away that extra. extra leaf material.
And you could just pack them in there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, overlapping a little bit.
As long as you get the
Within-
stem in there.
Yeah,
in
as
the
long as
soil.
the stem
Right.
is in there, in
Right.
contact with the soil. As little as 2 weeks, you may start seeing new little leaves growing up through the center, and they're so cute when you do. Little tiny bright green leaflets.
They're cute, huh?
They are, of course, little baby plants are
Yeah.
adorable. So when you get this home, you're going to water this well
Okay.
till you have water running out the bottom.
All right.
And then don't water it again for a week. Maybe water it once a week or so after that. Within a couple weeks, you'll probably start seeing little plantlets, and then
Nice.
eventually they'll just get bigger and bigger. And before you know it, you'll have
Something like that.
you'll have a great big beefsteak plant again.
Oh, that'd be nice. So tell us again about the light conditions.
Light conditions for this one, they do like bright light, almost full sun. In the winter, they can take full sun
Okay.
because the sun is just not as strong in the
Right,
winter.
right.
So this one is actually sitting in full sun in our greenhouse right now.
Okay.
But here in a couple weeks, as the sun gets a little stronger, I'll move it under a shade cloth so that it doesn't burn. But these can take a lot of light and actually have the best color in
Yeah,
strong
it's
light.
beautiful colors. Jill, that was great. Thank you for
Good.
those propagation
Good.
techniques.
Do you feel like you could propagate a begonia now?
Yeah, I feel like I may be able to do that.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
Thank you much. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I was asked to come out and investigate this wound on this tree right here. And we had 3 magnolias here in a row, and they're all showing the same signs. It's a lesion that runs up and down the trunk of the tree. And I have a strong background in fungus with trees, and I have to assume that this is a canker disease. A canker disease affects different trees in different ways, and there's different types of cankers. This one in particular right here appears to be what I believe to be an innonatus fungus. It's a white rot, and the white rot affects the phloem tissue of the tree and then also the cambium. And then it gets real soft on the heartwood of the tree, and that's what's telling me that it's probably an innonatus type canker. The best way to treat this type of canker is to cut it out and treat your tools with bleach, a 9-to-1 mixture of bleach, and treat the wound of the tree in hopes of not spreading the disease. If it is not treated, if it's left alone, it will eventually kill the tree. Okay, now I want to take this tree apart. This section, this appears to be the only section of the tree that is infected. So we're going to eliminate it. And for safety reasons, I'm going to prune up above the first wound. No need to sterilize my tools yet, because I'm only cutting out infected parts of the tree. This section right here is dead. You can see how the canker grew around this collar, and a lot of times that's where the wound sets in. We see the canker on the outside, but how it affects the tree on the inside, the decay continues to move its way into the wood, eating away that phloem tissue, which the phloem tissue is what carries the nutrients from the foliage down, and then eating away at the cambium, which produces the new tissue of the tree. Now, on this final cut, I am going to spray my tools right here, because we're getting down to the part of the wood that we're going to leave. This is a 9-to-1 mixture of bleach. And we're going to cut it off at ground level. Get a nice clean cut. The phloem tissue and the xylem tissue is still active right now before the wound starts closing over or compartmentalizing. And treating it with this bleach, we hope to stop the disease from spreading.
All right, Jill, here's our Q&A segment in the glass house,
That's
right?
right.
It's raining
It-
outside.
It is.
But
The
we're
rain,
getting in here, right?
rain is coming down.
It's coming
so-
down pretty good.
Yeah.
We can hear it pretty good too as well.
Yeah.
All right, so here's our first via email. Why do my beefsteak tomatoes only grow to baseball size? Is there something I should do to help them reach their advertised size? And this is Willard. He says he has never been able to get them any larger in 15 years of
Wow.
growing, and he grows them in above ground boxes and pot.
Okay.
So a couple different things there. What do you think?
Yeah.
About that?
So a couple thoughts come to mind. If he's growing them in boxes, how long has that soil been there? Is there a chance that it's just the same old soil that's been depleted of nutrients? Maybe refreshing the soil could help. Also, we don't know where he is, for one thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he included a
Yeah,
location.
he did not.
And we don't know which variety it is.
Right.
Because there are varieties of tomatoes that definitely perform better in the north or the Midwest or the deep south. So it maybe it's a variety that just doesn't like the temperature
Yeah.
for where he is. That's something I would consider.
Okay. Yeah, because it might be genetics, you know, it could
Yeah.
be, right?
Yeah.
Couple of things.
Could also
Go
be
ahead.
the heat.
Yeah, so that's what I was
we've
about to
had
mention. 'Cause
we've
it
had
is-
such hot summers, and many tomatoes just don't produce well, or
Yeah.
any tomatoes, as far as I know. Once it gets above a certain temperature, they just stop flowering, they stop producing.
Yeah.
So it might be a heat issue.
Right, so that gets me to my pollination point, right? So it could be
Right.
poor pollination.
Okay.
Right, because usually when you have poor pollination, right, you have poor fruit set.
Sure.
So you have fewer tomatoes, but you
Sure.
also have smaller tomatoes. So that could be a case. And how about overcrowding? Could be crowded,
Right.
you know,
Right.
above boxes, ground boxes,
Yeah.
and pots. It could be too crowded.
Right? Yeah,
Right.
if they're close together, they could be competing for water and nutrients.
Yep.
Especially in pots, kind of concerns me. If
Yeah.
he's trying to grow a huge tomato, depending on the size of the pot, that can be very limiting if the roots are so restrained in a small pot.
Okay. Yeah, and since you brought up pots, I'm thinking about watering. So if you think about tomatoes,
Yeah.
right, the fruit itself, they're about what, 95% water.
Yeah,
So
yeah. They need a lot of water.
need a lot of
They
water.
go through it fast.
a lot of water,
Yeah.
consistent, you know, watering, you know, consistent moisture, right? So I mean, those are the thoughts that come to my mind. You know,
Maybe if there would be a way to have that planter box open to the ground,
Okay, okay.
where the roots could go into the
Yeah.
ground as well.
I would agree with that.
That might be a chance for the plant to get more water.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
So thought. So Mr. Willard, I would try all of those. Yeah, I mean, you've been trying for 15 years, you know, so
Yeah.
give some
Yeah.
of these a try, and I think that'll help you out. Well, we appreciate that question. All right, here's our next viewer email. What is the most effective way to rotate my crops growing in 3 different 10 by 5 foot raised beds? And this is Daniel from Arlington Heights, Illinois.
Okay.
So let's see if we can help him out. What do you think about that?
Best suggestion would be to just start writing down, graphing, mapping out where your crops are, and making sure that you're rotating them. Don't put the same plants back in that same spot for another 3 to 5 years. Just keep track of it. Get out some pen and paper and a little bit of graph paper. Start planning a little more
Okay.
for season to season.
Right, yeah, because we don't want to plant the same plants in there year after year after year, right? Because you don't want
Right.
to build up the insect pressure, disease
Right,
pressure.
right. Many of the same vegetables share disease
Yeah.
issues, share the same pest issues.
Yeah.
So you do get those diseases and pests building up in the soil. So it's best to try to trade those out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. How do you do it if you only have one raised bed? Yes. So
Oh,
just
okay.
one raised bed. What do you think?
Well, consider maybe growing only just a smaller selection of vegetables each year.
Yeah.
One year you grow these 3 types of vegetables. Maybe the next year you switch over to something totally different to allow a chance for that soil the issues in the soil to
soil,
work
correct.
themselves out.
Yeah. So crops from the same family one year,
Right?
crops from a different family the next year. You know,
Right.
something that I would suggest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that question, Dan. It was a good question.
Oh, for sure.
And we're glad that he wants to use his raised beds, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
To grow vegetables. So
yeah,
that's a good thing.
yeah.
So thank you for that, Daniel. All right, here's our next viewer email. Any recommendations for controlling insects eating my midnight marvel hibiscus leaves? And this is Dane from Franklin, Tennessee. He says he's tried using neem oil and 7, but the
Okay.
pests still leave his leaves lacy.
Okay.
And he also said it blooms well. So
Well, that's
it
good.
blooms well.
That's good to hear.
So
So we
that's
just
good.
got some skeletal leaves, but still nice blooms.
It's still nice blues, and I'm
Right.
actually familiar with the culprit here because I
Okay.
grow hibiscus at home.
Okay.
Hibiscus sawfly.
All
so
right.
the larva camouflages very well,
Yeah.
right? It's almost the same color as the leaves.
Okay. Oh,
And it
perfect.
actually eats on top of the leaf itself,
Okay.
right in between the veins, right? very difficult to control. So you definitely want to control it in the larva stage, right? So he did use neem oil. That is something that you can use. It'll be multiple applications, but I would like to go with insecticidal soap. So insecticidal soap is good, right? Horticulture oil, is good as well. And spinosad is also good. Natural soil bacterium, right? Just read and follow the label on all of those products. And I think that will get it for you.
Okay.
Right?
Now, how about if you wanted to avoid chemicals, if you went out maybe with a hose and used a strong spray of water
And that's something else you can do.
every day?
All right, that's something else you can do.
Or maybe hand picking?
Oh, you can pick it off. Yeah.
Okay, I know
if it doesn't bother you.
Yeah. I personally have some tropical fish. We have a little fish pond back behind us. And occasionally when we have caterpillar or sawfly issues in here, I will just pick all that I can and I feed them to the fish.
How about that?
And they love them.
There you go. So you can pick them up and feed them to the fish. You can do that as well. But again, if you're going to use those products, read and follow the label.
Right,
Just be
absolutely.
careful,
And
on
if
that.
you use the chemicals, don't feed them to the fish.
Don't feed them to the fish.
Right,
That's a good
right.
point. Don't feed them to the fish, and I think you'll be fine with that, Dane. So thank you so much for the question. Jill, we survived the rain.
We did.
We
It's gotten
did.
a little lighter.
Getting lighter now. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank
thank
you
you
for being
much.
here with me.
All right. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is questions@familyplotgarden.com. And the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. If you want more information about plant propagation, head on over to familyplotgarden.com. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.